Well, about a month and a half later, finally got the car back in the garage. Look how dirty this gets, just from sitting in the front yard. This thing is filthy. Like, look at the size of this spider. Oh, Jesus, you jump. Okay, got it all jacked up. I broke the lug nuts loose and just tightened them by hand, just so we can test suspension or whatever. I've still made zero headway on finding fog lights. I also have another set of wheels that I want to test fit, but I also got a stud kit and an angle kit. So we're going to be putting studs on, and then the angle kit so we can get a little bit more steering angle. So first, check everything. A little bit of play left and right. Sight's really bad. Up and down's fine. So the bearing and ball joint are fine. So the tie rods are done. So this tie rod's starting to go. That one's finished. So I guess it's good that we're loosening them up. Stud kit. You want red thread locker, studs, M12 by 1.5, a 7/32 Allen head socket, preferably a 1/2 inch, but I don't have one. So I'm going to attempt with a reducer to torque them to spec. And hopefully they actually torque to spec. And then a screwdriver because we have all of the wheels up, so we need some way to hold it. So we'll put this in the top so it rests up against the caliper to add resistance. And then we can actually torque them down. This really doesn't look that bad, actually. Must have been recently serviced because there's like no rust in here at all. Brake caliper is both painted black and a very weird color of red. So something went on there. I just want to clean this up. Well, the pads are getting there. Calipers look alright. Should probably rebuild them anyway, but definitely gonna need rotors. So, pads and rotors in the front for sure. Let's check out the back. What the hell is that? Ooh. Anyway, same kind of caliper thing going on. Black and like a really weird color of red. Maybe that's factory. I don't know. I don't know enough about these cars. Let's just clean this up real quick. So now these rear brakes, aside from the missing set screw, actually look brand new. There's no ridge at all. It doesn't even look like there's a lot of wear, and the pads also look brand new. So I think the back are probably fine. Just need to clean them up a little bit. That's pretty amazing. One thing is, there's a lot of anti-seize used from whoever serviced this last, and we have to clean all that out. Gonna take a nut driver with a 3/8 adapter to a shallow 17. And now I'm just gonna take some WD-40. So first, we're gonna spray a bunch of this in here. Now we're just gonna take any lug nut. Now let's do it again. You can see there's still material in there. Make sure it's nice and clean. Nothing comes off. Let's spray it again. Now that that's dried out, do it again. Sounds good. So those are all cleaned out. Now I'll take 5 of these. So now before I put the thread locker on these, I just want to start threading them by hand. These are anodized. I want to make sure none of that anodizing around the edges is going to interfere with the threads. I had a little bit of resistance. You can see a little bit of rust on it there. But that's it. So now we just put red thread locker. Oh my, that was a lot. That is too much. 2 drops. We just gotta torque these down. Shove that in there. Now the sketchy game. So we're gonna want these at 88 foot-pounds. Now just let the thread locker get into place. And we can run the lug nuts down. And then for lug nuts, I just have some used titanium ones, and those are also 17s. So we're gonna have to run these in and out just because they're used. So obviously there's gonna be a bunch of crap inside them, but I don't know, I think they look kind of neat, kind of like a bluish brown gray. But that'll come after. So now that that's done and the thread locker's setting, just repeat it on the other side. And try to not run out of brake clean while you're doing this. That might be a good start. Some anti-seize, put it in here. Make sure we got a lot. Now we're just gonna run these on and off. Okay. Ow, that's really hot. God damn it. Anyway, that's one. There's just so much crap in here that they don't want to thread on, so anti-seize is basically acting as an abrasive, and it's essentially sanding the threads. So now I just gotta do the same to the back, and then the other side. And then I'm ready to test fit the Jaguar wheels that I got. Alright, not bad. But I'll have to put these ones back on, bring it outside, because these ones leak. So I gotta pull those tires off, seal them, clean up the bead and everything, pop the tires back on, and it should be good. I'm pretty stoked about the find so far. So I'm gonna finish up the rest of these studs, finish cleaning up the lug nuts, that's pretty much it. You get the gist. Back to the grind. Okay, let's get under the car. Oh god, there's spider webs everywhere. Oh my god. How the hell did you make this web? Oh my god. You'd think a spider that small would diminish after emitting that much web. Like, how did they make that much? I was working on this car a day ago. They did that in one day. The wild little guy. Ah, god, another spider. Ugh. Hey, at least we got a new ball joint. That's cool. Gotta spray that down. And we're gonna spray this down. And then over on this side, spray the ball joint down and spray the tie rod end down. This will spray this too. It might soak in. Maybe it'll help. Probably not, but wishful thinking. Oh my god, now I have to take those off. I'm not even doing this today. It's like 2 in the morning. Not having it right now. Well, it's a new day. Still feel like a bag of shit. So let's talk about the wheels so I can procrastinate working on the car. So these wheels here are the factory BMW ones. These are 15-inch wheels, 7 inches wide, and the offset is plus 42. So let's do some napkin math here. So if this wheel is 7 inches wide, now I haven't actually measured it to make sure it is exactly 7 inches, but that's just the manufacturer's tolerance, as this fits in the tolerances for a 7-inch wide wheel. Now in theory, that should be 177.8 millimeters. So if we divide that in half, then that means that from the center to the edge of the rim, it should be 88.9 millimeters and 88.9 on this side. Now, if we take the offset, 42 millimeters, so plus 42, because the mounting surface is going to be 42 millimeters forward toward the face of the wheel. So that means that we're going to have 130.9 millimeters at the back and 46.9 millimeters at the front. So that's our basic measurements of what's going on with this wheel. And the main number that we're after right now is 46.9. So now, if we take this wheel, which is from a 92 Jaguar XJ6, this wheel is 15 by 6.5. So it's a half-inch skinnier, but because of the offset on this wheel, this is a plus 28. So now, if we take that same calculation into mind, then a 6.5-inch wheel is going to be 165.1 from edge to edge. So half of that is going to be 82.55 millimeters. So from here to here, 82.55. From center, 82.55. You get it. Now, if we take the offset into consideration, which is plus 28, then we're going to have 110.55 from the offset to the back of the rim, which means that this leading edge portion is going to be 54.55 millimeters. So now that is our difference between these two wheels. So now if we take those two numbers, 54.55 millimeters, and then subtract the 46.9 millimeters from this one, we're going to be left over with 7.65 millimeters. So now if everything was exactly to every millimeter within the decimal margins, which they're not because there's manufacturer tolerances here, so we just end up rounding up at this point, then that's essentially going to give us a ballpark of 8 millimeters. So even though this wheel is a 6.5-inch wide wheel, because the offset is plus 28, that pushes it out 8 millimeters further than the factory wheel. So I can run a skinnier wheel, which also means skinnier tires, without stretching the sidewall. So then there's two benefits there. One, cheaper tires. And two, not stretching the sidewall means that I'm going to have more flex in the tire. It's going to be less rigid. So there's going to be a lot more body movement in the vehicle that's going to be given to the tires itself. And because this car isn't like some crazy race car or anything to utilize kinetic energy is going to be an improvement. So because of the flex in the sidewall of the tires, when going sideways, as soon as it goes to snap to the next corner, the rubber is going to help push the kinetic energy into the other direction. That in a 195 tire would be easier to break loose than a 205, even though this has 205s on it. Future tire things. These wheels end up making it easier, more efficient for kinetic energy. The wheels are lighter because they're skinnier, and it has 8 millimeters of poke, so essentially an 8 millimeter spacer. Let me just kind of size that up. It's looking pretty good. Like, I think around there is gonna be pretty good for this car, and I'm not even gonna have to use spacers. I'm gonna call these $100 wheels a win, but I guess now I should probably actually start installing that angle kit or whatever. Let's start on that. Since this is still attached, I'm going to try and break this loose first because we have to shorten this. That one's going to be a 24, and then this one should be a 20. 24, and I got a 19 and a 21. Okay. Who wants to take bets to whether or not this is actually gonna work? Yeah, this is gonna suck. I mean, it's not gonna be the end of the world if it breaks, right? Oh my god, no way. Hey, that never happens. What the hell is that? Jesus. Well, that's broken loose, so that's neat. I gotta take this off. This is gonna be a 16. A 16. There we are. What is even going on with this car right now? This is insane. I've been working on Volkswagens my entire goddamn life. I buy one BMW, and every single thing is easy. I totally get it now. I understand. This is why you people are insane about BMWs. It's a German Honda. Parts aren't too expensive. I mean, hard to find around here, but that's because we don't have a dealer, so that kind of makes sense. So easy to work on. Everything just works. Blowing my mind. Now, once this is disconnected, to make my life significantly easier, probably gonna remove the strut. There we are. You don't want to hit down. You're gonna break all the threads. Hit on the side, that'll shock it, and it comes out. Just like that. I've never experienced a European car that has been this easy. It's crazy. So now with that off, we have to get... spider webs. So we have to get to that nut in there. So if I pop these out for the strut, and this one up here, I'll have direct access to that. And I believe that is the only thing that would be holding the knuckle onto the car, which will make it very easy to install that other piece. Because essentially what's happening, when we install that little bracket that goes in, it's going to move the tie rod location to be about here. So that means that we're going to be able to turn more. Well, we have to shorten this, so this will go in about 1 inch to about here, and that means that the pivot point is going to be further over, so it'll be right about here. So that's how we get the larger steering angle, which works out to be about 20 degrees. Wow. Oh, the inner one's gone too. Deadly. Gotta change it all anyway, whatever. I wonder if I can get it without taking that off. That would make my life significantly easier. Might as well try. What would a drift car be without cable ties? 18. Alright. Well, let's just continue with this here. Oh, it's binding, like it's getting stuck between this collar and the bottom of the strut, so I can't go anymore anyway. I mean, realistically, I might be able to do it from the other side. So let's just turn this way. Oh, settle down. Okay, now this is stupid. Stop being lazy, you asshole. It just makes it so much easier if you just do it the proper way. God damn it. Okay, so these ones here, 18, that's an 18. In there is an 18. So, seems to me like we're gonna need an 18. Ah, awesome. I don't have an 18 impact socket. Oh well, I've lived a life. Perfect. Put on the other Titan. Let's try and crack these loose. How good is this little guy? Oh boy, no. Let's get this on here. Just break those loose. And this one back here somewhere. It's probably... There it is. Yeah, okay. Oh, look at that little spider. I know, dude. I'm messing up your whole house. Oh my god. That's on there. Penetrating fluid. Well, I mean, it was about time that one of these bolts gave me an issue. So I had to bring out the pneumatic impact here. I really need a new hose. Like, because if we didn't have that steering angle, it wouldn't have fit. Like, it just worked. That just pops right out. It's a little bit rusty, but it's mostly just on the surface. Like, the black anodizing is still there, so that's pretty good. There we are. Now we just gotta get that off, which was an 18. Friggin' sucks sticking in here. There we are. Now, there's not really gonna be anything holding this up. So, how am I gonna do this? I'm gonna make a loop. I was thinking I was gonna have to take the ball joint out. I actually don't have to. So I can just take this off. Always make sure to cut towards yourself in a very quick and deadly motion. Bracket actually just goes right on top, just like that. A stud goes right in through here, and this screws down on it. Just like that. Then you send it home. Before that happens, spray it down, make it go in a little bit easier. And I'm going to put nut on backwards because this is aluminum, so it'll probably end up like squishing or bowing out or something like that. I don't really want to damage it. Now these are a 20, so that's going to be the 13/16. All I gotta do is just tighten this, and that's going to pull that in. So now that stud is all the way in. Put that on. Of course, the compressor's going. Now these are just quickly zipped on. This nut here that goes to the ball joint, that's going to be 61 Newton meters or 45 foot-pounds. And then this one here, which is where the tie rod used to go, this one is 44 Newton meters or 33 foot-pounds. And then the tie rod will be the same. Now we can put the rest of this all back together, but before we put the tie rod in, we have to take the tie rod end off and shorten the inner tie rod shank by about 1 inch. So that's going to compensate for the amount that the tie rod has to go in because it's moving significantly more. So we have to back up the jam nut, which we've already done, broke it loose. We need a 13. And then that's going to go on the inner tie rod. Oh my god, this one's pretty corroded, so it doesn't want to go on. And a little persuasion. Fits perfect. And now we need that 20 again, the 13/16. And we're going to attach it here, and we need to break this free. Oh my god. Come on. Okay. I should be able to do it by hand now. Now the jam nut, I do want to keep on here, but I'm just going to spin it off just so we can clean up any gunk off of the threads. And you can see all the junk that came off that was stuck in the threads. So now we can put this back on. We want to cut this shank off here from the inner tie rod, because right here you can see, if we just line it up there, so we really only have about, like, I don't know, 10, 12 millimeters, somewhere in there, like ½ an inch basically. And because we have to move this in by 1 inch, so we need to cut some of this off so that way we can push this further back, and then this won't be bottoming out on the inside, and we can still maintain a proper alignment. But unfortunately for me right now, it is getting extremely late, so I'm not going to be able to cut this without waking up half the neighborhood. I have to wait until tomorrow, and then once I do, then we can put it back on. You guys don't have to wait, but I do. So that's it for tonight. Okay, new day. Where were we? What are we doing? We're going to need a tape measure, tape, safety glasses, hearing protection. Don't be a fucking asshole. Just get this shit. Gonna need an angle grinder. There's no guard on it. I ended up dropping the angle grinder and it dented, so you couldn't fit a disc on it, and it wouldn't work. I highly suggest you don't use one without a guard, because if you've seen one of these discs blow up, you'll understand why you should never use one of these without a guard. Because you think you're quick, and you think it won't get you. You got another thing coming, and it's going to be that disc. Gonna rest that there for now. Never leave them plugged in. And now, this cable tie, I'm going to make sure that this is tight. Now we want to have this basically exact, because if it's off, then it's not going to match the opposing side. So let's go from the top, go exactly on 1 inch. Just kind of press that in there, that's good. Go down here, make sure it's still on 1 inch. Good. Start wrapping it around. Now, obviously there's a bunch of grease on here, so this is really hard to stick to, but it works. Now, that's exactly 1 inch to here. So I want to cut on the right side of the tape. I don't want to touch the tape. Now, eye protection. Hearing protection. Now we plug this in. Now, in hindsight, a smarter idea to take this off completely. But because I have to replace these anyway, this is just quick and dirty, so that way I can get the car back outside and start working on other stuff that I gotta fix. Spicy. Now we can clean this up a little bit. All the crap around the edge. Now when we get to the end here, it's still very hot. Oh my god. It's gonna clear the threads. Ow, I'm impatient. Ow. Threads are all nice and clean, and now that just threads right back on with ease. So we're not fighting with any threads or anything. This is just gonna go on. Now just cut this cable tie off. Gonna put some anti-seize in here. And I'll put a little bit there too. Now, it wasn't a problem, but just to be sure in the future, I'll put some on the contact area of the strut, right where the pin goes in, and I'll put some right here on the pin. And then lastly, just in here. There we go. We're not gonna have any problems with things sticking together in the future. But I mean, we didn't even have problems before, so I'm not really too concerned. Get that in there. There we go. Okay, so that's in there. Let's make sure that pin right in there lines up. Shorter bolts can go in, and this one here can go in. So now just get that washer and nut on. So it's bolt, washer, washer, nut. Make sure that the bolt goes towards the back, so if the nut falls off, then velocity isn't going to make that fall out. Now I just gotta get in here now. Get that on the nut somewhere in there. So now with this all zipped together, let's finish cutting this. Really have to make sure this is cut completely straight, otherwise the jam nut won't lock up to it very well. We don't want this collar on anymore because the jam nut is going to lock up against this just like a regular tie rod on any other normal car. Now we just want to get this nut on here. Now in hindsight, I probably should have put this on before putting the strut back on, because I'm not going to be able to torque this, and I don't have crow's foot wrenches. So that's in. Now before we tighten the jam nut, we just got to make sure that the wheel is somewhat straight. Steering wheel straight. And we have a noticeable amount of toe in. And that side's good. So if we go from the rotor to the rotor, just a hair over 55 inches. And if we go from here to here on this brake rotor, not the best place to do this, but it works, I guess. That's where my finger is. That is 56. So it has almost an inch. I need the 20 or 13/16 and the 13. I have to utilize this 13 here and hold this in place. Use the 13 to turn this out. I'm gonna want this to be around 55 inches. That's pretty much the ballpark between both of them. That's 55 1/4, so we're getting there. So let's take the Jaguar XJ6 wheel. These will be the wheels that are being used for drifting. And if we put the factory wheel on this side, wow, just a very big spider web. So that one's on. Tire's perfectly straight. This one's on. Has a little bit of toe out. So let's just adjust that quickly. Pull this in just to squeeze. There we go, that's pretty good. You can already get an idea of how much poke there is on the front tire here, how much it's recessed in. And this one here, it's like completely flush. So those XJ6 wheels are actually dead for this car. You can very visibly see that there's a huge turning radius difference here. So that's full lock. Just like, basically fit my hand in there. If you go this way, I can very easily fit my hand sideways in here. So there's significantly more room. That is wild. Now I just get to the other side. Awesome. I'm so excited. That's it. It's all done. Got the lug nuts all cleaned up. Ended up going to my buddy's house and I took a tap and I just ran it all the way through. It's M14 by 1.5 for the thread pitch. So I reamed those out just to clean out the threads and everything. Ran them back through and now they're like a dream. They're like brand new. The fitment on the wheels. The back could come out just to squeeze more, so maybe like a 5 or 10 mil spacer on the back, and then the front. So on this side here, you're not really gonna be able to see it. At full lock, the front of the tire is touching right where the sway bar mounts. The sway bar where it comes out of the mount right in front of it, it's just touching there a little bit, and like it's like just touching. So like if I were to run a 195 tire, golden. So I figure a good ballpark is 10 mil on the rear. I can run either set of tires with no issues, and then I'll just run a 5 mil on the front, and then these wheels will just poke out a little bit, but it's still not past the fender, so it's not going to be a huge deal. But look at the angle. This is sick. I love how this thing is coming out so far. So now, all I gotta do is put these wheels back on, because these ones leak. I'm kind of digging the silver. I was gonna paint them, but I don't know. There's not even any curb rash or anything, so then I don't really see the point to it. Kind of like here, where the corrosion is really bad. I'd have to sand those down and repaint them, but these Jaguar XJ6 wheels, they're actually looking pretty good. I mean, they're incredibly dirty, but paint and everything is holding up really well. There's no curb rash or anything, so I think they'll do just fine. And life showed up again, so now I have to deal with a whole bunch of other crap with other cars and everything, so I'm not going to be working on this one for a little bit. So there's a whole other project that I picked up that I have to figure out what to do with. I gotta edit the whole video of fixing my dad's car, which I did just before this, and now it's gonna be completely out of order, but I don't know. That'll maybe be next month or the month after, I'm not sure. The next video that I'm gonna be uploading is actually some garage upgrades because my airline was too short. So I got that all sorted out. Then there's like a whole bunch of work that I have to do on the truck because it's overflowing with parts. I gotta get the A3 in here so I can clean out that back room and throw all the parts back in, get it all cleaned up and running and stuff. And I don't know, there's just a whole bunch of crap to do. So yeah, I mean, that's about it really. If you found something useful, like the video, that's cool. If not, dislike it, that's alright too. Subscribe if you haven't already, that always helps out. Or don't do any of it, I'm not telling you what to do.